For people that aren't familiar with you, because I bet there's a subset of the audience right now who's like, who is this guy? Is he a personal trainer?
Yes.
Tell people why
very expensive personal trainer.
Why they should listen to you.
You absolutely should not listen to me. As a first and foremost, got into the fitness industry. I started a gym, opened a chain of gyms, had 6, sold those 6 locations in Southern California when I was 26 years old. Started my first gym when I was 23. Took the IP from that, started doing gym turnarounds, flew around the country, did 30-something turnarounds. From there, I really got the system dialed, and then I started licensing it out. And over the next 5 or 6 years, we got up to 5,000 locations. Licensed our model under a company called Gym Launch. I started a supplement company called Prestige Labs, which sold through that distribution base of gyms. They sold our supplements kind of specifically made for gym owners. There's a lot of benefits we made specifically for gyms. And then I started a software company called Allen in 2020. That was also to work brick and mortar leads, because that's one of the big issues that a lot of brick and mortar business owners do, is they get a phone call or they get a text and no one responds. And so they just lose business for no reason. So we wanted to solve that problem too. All 3 of those businesses, we chose to exit in 2021. 2 of them we sold together to American Pacific Group for $46.2 million in an all-cash deal. I sold 2/3 of it, excuse me. And then the software company, we did an entirely stock sale, and I sold 75% of that company. And then starting into 2022, we started our family office formally. Up to that point, my wife and I had made private investments into 3 companies that had done really, really well. And we'd done well enough with that we said, we'll take all the dividends and distributions we'd taken up to that point, plus the liquidation event that we had from American Pacific Group. And we said, let's start our family office, which is acquisition.com. And so we started with 3 companies. And now over the last, however long, that portfolio in total does over $200 million a year. And I started making content on the internet with the intention to help as many people get into business as humanly possible, because I don't have a lot of faith in the larger institutions. And so I think that if we're going to solve our problems, we need to do it for ourselves. And I think entrepreneurship is one of those paths in order to do that. Don't necessarily need to be an entrepreneur, but just getting involved in businesses and private enterprise in general, I think is the most efficient way that we can allocate the resources of humanity to solve humanity's problems.
Hey, Graham, what do you want for Christmas?
I don't know, Jack.
Well, I got you an early gift.
You did? Are you serious?
Yeah. I got you a lawnmower.
I don't need a lawnmower. I have turf.
Well, Graham, it's not your everyday lawnmower. It's the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra Body Trimmer from Manscaped.
Well, let me see that. And it's used.
I used it right before I came here. Well, Graham, it's actually pretty nice for shaving down there, and it has 2 different blade heads. A standard one to take a little off the top, and a new foil blade to go for that smooth finish. It's waterproof, and it also has advanced skin-safe technology to prevent any nicks from happening, since that can be really painful.
All right, Jack, I actually really like this.
And that's not all, Graham. I also got you the Crop Soother Aftershave Lotion and Crop Preserver Anti-Chafe Ball Deodorant.
Oh man, Jack, you really went above and beyond for this year. Thank you.
And if you think that's everything, you're mistaken, because this bundle also comes with the Manscaped Boxers 2.0 Premium Underwear, and they are so soft, and the Shed 2.0 Toiletry Bag.
Wow, this is really comfortable, man. This seems like really good quality. And this, I like this because we'd be able to travel with this.
So don't go around saying I never did anything for you, Graham.
So if you guys are looking for the perfect gift for a friend or family member, head on over to manscaped.com and use the code ICH at checkout for 20% off and free shipping.
Once again, guys, that's code ICH with the link down below in the description at manscaped.com. Thank you so much, Manscaped, and back to the episode.
And what do you say acquisition.com does exactly?
We buy companies, usually 49% or more of a business, and then we basically inject our expertise and capital into the business to grow it. And so, we'll look at, we have to have a combination of, do we like this business on its own? Do we think that we are a really good, unique partner that can add a huge amount of basically, do we have an unfair advantage with this deal in terms of value creation, not just like that we have proprietary deal flow, because that's why I make the content I do. But do we actually have a real way of do we see a 10X that we can implement and execute on? And so that's a lot of our our front end diligence is, okay, this might be a good business, but it's not our perfect business to work on. And so we try and find those deals where it's just there's no way we can lose. And we try and do those deals.
How do you tell if there's a 10X? What do you look for? What sort of qualities do you see?
So it's actually just looking at the business like a pipeline. So it's okay, you've got X percent, basically you just have to understand everything from click to close to renewal. And so every business more or less is you have eyeballs that at some point get converted into leads, or they get converted into customers. So if it's leads, then they eventually have to get a scheduled appointment. They have to show, they have to close. And then on the back end, once they are closed, they have to get a product delivered or a service delivered. And then they have to buy again and again or get upsold into other things, right? So if we look at that, we can see breakages along that line, because that would be something that we'd get in diligence. Just like, okay, what are the click-through rates on the ads? What are the CPMs on the ads? What are the conversion rates on the pages? What percentage are scheduling? What percentage are showing? What percentage are closing? What's the average offer rate? What percentage are we collecting cash up front? What's the average close rate? On the back end, like how many dropouts do we have in the first 48 hours? After that, what does it look like over the next 12 months or 24 months for those customers? What percentage are ascending to the next level of service? And so if we look at that and we have our benchmarks for what we think we can do with the processes that we have already tested, then we're like, okay, well, these guys are getting 30% of their appointments to show up, and we know that we can get that to 80. It's okay, well, there's a 2.5x. Okay, boom, there's one. And we're like, okay, I think they're mispriced on this offer, and I think we can at least double this. It's like, okay, well, there's 5x. You got 2.5 and 2. And they're like, okay, and right now they're not doing anything to reduce their churn. They're at 10%. I think we can get them to 3. So there's a triple. And so we're like, okay, so that's 15x. What's our confidence score in terms of like our likelihood that we'll be able to implement these changes? Is it like a super big overhaul, or is it just like there's a handful of things that we can implement and immediately see that? And the easier it is, the more likely we want to do it. And so like I just bought a chain of teeth whitening studios. We have 32 locations. We just bought. And I just got so excited because I saw their sales process and I was like, I'm going to murder this.
It's a very interesting business.
Oh, very interesting.
I've seen a lot of those just this direct to consumer products though that you see that you get on the subscription and they just send you.
Yep.
I have a whole bunch from Ollie.
Okay.
Believe it or not, from I think that was an Alpha M product.
Alpha M.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I saw their sales process and was like, I could make this, like, we literally can just change a handful of things around here, switch it from one time to membership, make these packages based on these price points, have an intake questionnaire, you know, like do some of the things that we already know work over and over and over again. And we 5x the LTV of the customer. So 5x how much people were worth to the business. And so it's like, great, well, there's a 5x. And then all I have to do is just double the locations over the next 5 years. I got a 10x. Great.
And then what do you do once you do that? Is it just collecting cash, or is it to eventually then sell that business?
Depends on the
move
business.
on to the next one.
Depends on the business. I would say there definitely are, like, I used to give probably, like, I always wanted to hold everything forever. But I think there are times where it does make, where businesses get to a point where the next, like, increment of growth requires, like, an order of magnitude in terms of effort that it's not worth. Or we might determine, you know what, we're good cashing out on this one. Like, we might not be the right partners, or like we might not be the right owners to take it from here to there. It also just depends on what's on the horizon. If it's like, you know, interest rates are super low. I mean, I sold literally everything I owned in 2021 because money was free. And so I was like, I sold my house, I sold my cars, I sold all 3 of my companies, I sold everything. I was just completely cash. Because it just seemed ridiculous what people were willing to pay. So I was like, okay. And so if like something like that comes along, that I would be consider. If someone wants to buy it more than I want to own it, then I always entertain offers.
You know, in hindsight, it seems like you made a pretty good deal by selling everything somewhat at the peak of the market. I think you cashed out. The market kept going up a little bit, and then it started. Yeah, amazing time. And then I think you were in contract to buy a house, weren't you?
Yeah.
And then you backed out of that.
Yeah.
And also, fantastic time.
Yeah. So things have worked out pretty okay on the timing of that. And I would not like claim it. It wasn't like I think I'm timing the market. It was just more like, this makes sense. Like, this is a deal that I will accept. And on the flip side, when you're buying, you're like, I don't know if this is a deal I want to do. And it's just more like that. Unless you have like an absolute need, which I would say on the flip side, like if you need a house, buy a house. You know what I mean? Like if you like whatever. If you need an office for your company, like buy an office, because you're going to make more than trying to time the market perfectly, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
what are you doing now strategically? Do you think that things are going to be getting better? What are you holding on to? Like, where do you place your importance today?
I focus all my stuff on the things I can control, honestly. Like I actually spend a laughably small amount of time on like the economy and interest rates and things that are happening right now. Like I spend almost no time on it. Like the only time that I will think about that stuff is just to what degree will that affect our businesses? And like the only way that those things have affected our business is just that some of our businesses require financing or like use financing for consumer purchases. So like if you're buying a car, you know, sometimes you use financing. And so the interest rates on the loans that they're getting are higher, so their actual payments are higher. And so that affects sales and the average ticket that you can sell for those businesses. But then to what degree do I control that? It's more that I'm aware of it and we do our best to mitigate those things.
One thing I do want to talk about before we go into a lot of the other subjects is $100 million leads.
Yeah.
I watched that and was blown away at that presentation.
Thanks.
How many people did you have watching at that time?
We had 188,000 people click to go live. Yeah. And then it, varied.
How much work went into that presentation?
A lot.
To me, this was
200 hours.
it was structured in such a way where I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, how could I use this in my own life? Because it was that incredible. Every slide and every way you framed it was like you're getting this positive feedback loop by saying, because you're here, it worked.
Yeah.
And because it works, you should listen to me.
Yeah.
Because all these people are here, because it works. And it was incredible how you pitched this. So walk us through exactly what $100 million Leads is.
Yeah. So it's the sequel to the first book, $100 Million Offers, which was the purpose of that book was to answer the question, what should I sell? So like the first thing people were trying to get in entrepreneurship, they're like, what should I sell? Like I'm trying to figure out like they ask the question, what business should I start? But the question they really should ask is, what should I be selling, or who should I be selling it to? And so Offers answered that question, is what I'm going to sell. Leads answers the second question, which I almost just gave away, which is, who do I sell it to? You need leads. And so once you figure out what to sell, you have to go find those people, and you can force people to find you through advertising. And so I split test the name, 6 or 7 different times. And so the book is about advertising, but leads beat advertising in the split test. So it's $100 million leads. But it's basically, how do you let other people know about your stuff? And so there are 8 ways that you can let people know about stuff, 4 that you can do on your own, 4 that you need other people for. And so the book basically details step-by-step how to do each of the 8. And fundamentally, if you're getting into business, you only need to do one of them and do them well. And if you do more than one, then awesome. Now, I specifically have used all 8 in my life for a variety of businesses. And for the book launch, I purposely, like the Offers book, wanted it to be a meta concept, meaning the Offers book was 99 cents and it came with a course and all of that. And it was all like basically free, right? But it was an offer so good, people feel stupid saying no. And so like the book itself was an example of what it taught. Leads was about getting leads and advertising. And so I wanted to demonstrate all the things in the book to advertise the book. Like, I think it's ridiculous when there was a book on Amazon, I think I used in the presentation, it said how to market a book. It was like 4 years old and had 14 reviews. I'm like, I don't need to read this book to know that you have no idea how to market a book. I have proof in front of me that you have no idea how to market a book. Because if you did know how to market a book, this wouldn't have 14 reviews. And so if I was going to have a book about how to advertise, like I better be good at advertising. And so I thought that the event would be a great demonstration of that, to show that these stuff, I purposely, because I knew people would come back later to it, I purposely used literally step by step I didn't go outside of the book. So like the ads that I wrote for the book, I used the templates in the book to write the ads for the book. Like the content that I made for the book, I used the templates that I showed people to use on how to make content. The emails that we wrote were emails that we used from the outbound part of the book. And so just like every single part of this was using the book itself to market itself. And so that was what the book was about. So like if you have something to sell, you need people to sell it to. And in order to have people to sell it to, they've got to find out about you. In order to do that, you need to advertise. And that book teaches you how to do it.
How important was social proof? Was it just a random coincidence you had all the people in the background? Because I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, this is so strategic to have everyone in the back versus you with just like a gray wall with nothing going on in the background. I
obviously want to show that there's lots of people there. And I think the live, indicator with however many people are alive also helps for that stuff. But I actually think the biggest weakness, honestly, of that presentation was that there wasn't enough social proof for like the stuff in the book. So most times if I'm going to like market, if I were to like start a business around this, I would probably have had a beta group, have them go through it, show their results or their changes, and then I would have used those stories and reviews and testimonials throughout the presentation. But because it was so important to me to keep this like just this Mondo secret until the day I released it, I didn't have that luxury. And so a lot of the stories that I told were actually basically borrowing from success stories from Offers, being like, these books work in general, and if this worked for Offers, it'll work even better for Leads. I kind of had to transfer it that way. But yeah, there's always the implied. I mean, I tried to use, to your point.